Sarah Mitchell's alarm goes off at 4:47 a.m., 3 minutes before it's supposed to. She's already awake. She's always awake before the alarm, a habit from 15 years of military life where being late could mean missing your flight window or worse, walking into an ambush. Old habits die hard, her therapist Dr. Chen likes to say. Sarah thinks some habits aren't meant to die at all. They're meant to keep you alive. The Denver morning is still dark as she moves through her tiny apartment with practiced efficiency. Shower, uniform, makeup, not too much, just enough to look professional and approachable. The woman staring back at her from the bathroom mirror looks nothing like the fighter pilot who once commanded an F-16 squadron in Afghanistan. That woman had shorter hair, harder eyes, and 3 ribbons on her chest, including a distinguished flying cross. This woman has blonde hair pinned in a regulation bun, pearl earrings, and a smile that she's perfected over 3 years of saying coffee or tea. At 30,000 feet. Sarah pins on her flight attendant wings, the small silver pins that replaced the pilot's wings she wore for 15 years. Her fingers don't shake anymore. Not like they did on her first day at Transcontinental Airlines, when the weight of those fake wings felt like betrayal. Now they just feel like costume jewelry, part of the disguise. She traces the small scar above her left eyebrow, barely visible under makeup, but she knows it's there. March 17, 2022. The day her F-16 took enemy fire over Kandahar province and she had to eject at 15,000 feet. The day her wingman, Captain Marcus Wraith Rodriguez, wasn't fast enough. The day she watched his plane spiral into the mountains and explode in a ball of orange flame while she floated down in her parachute, screaming his name into the wind. Sarah blinks hard and turns away from the mirror. Not today. She doesn't think about Marcus on flight days. By 5:30 a.m., she's at Denver International Airport, badge swiping through employee security. The TSA officer, Mike, he likes basketball and has 2 daughters, waves at her. Morning, Sarah. Big smile today. Always, Mike. The smile comes automatically now, natural as breathing. The crew briefing room smells like burnt coffee and industrial carpet cleaner. Her colleagues are already there. Jennifer, the bubbly 24-year-old who talks too much about her boyfriend. Marcus, different Marcus, not her dead wingman Marcus, who's in his 40s and talks about his Navy days like they were yesterday. And Tom, the lead flight attendant who runs the cabin crew like a well-oiled machine. Morning, people, Tom announces. Transcontinental Flight 447, Denver to Miami. Full flight, 156 passengers. Weather's perfect. Should be smooth sailing. Sarah pours herself coffee and reviews the manifest on the tablet. Standard passenger list. Business travelers, families, a few solo flyers, nothing unusual. But then again, nothing ever looks unusual on paper. Earth to Sarah. Jennifer waves a hand in front of her face. You okay? You look like you're in another world. Sarah forces her smile wider. Just tired, early morning. Girl, we're all tired. That's what coffee's for. Jennifer laughs and launches into a story about her boyfriend's failed attempt at cooking dinner. Sarah nods and smiles at the right moments, but her mind is elsewhere. It's always elsewhere. Dr. Chen calls it hypervigilance, a symptom of PTSD. Sarah calls it staying sharp. You don't survive combat by letting your guard down, and you don't stop being a warrior just because you take off the uniform. At 6:45 a.m., they board Flight 447. Sarah walks through the jetway, through the cockpit where she nods to Captain Davis and co-pilot Stevens, and into the cabin. This is her domain now, not the sky, but the carpeted aisle between rows of seats. She arranges magazines, checks the emergency equipment, and puts on her public face. The passengers start boarding at 7:15. Sarah stands near the entrance with her smile locked in place. Good morning, welcome aboard, good morning. An elderly couple holding hands, a businessman already on his phone, a mother with 2 young kids, a college student with headphones. Normal people living normal lives, heading to Miami for normal reasons. Then he boards. Row 12C, mid-30s, athletic build, dark hair, olive complexion. He's wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, casual, forgettable. But Sarah notices what others don't. The way his eyes sweep the cabin in a tactical assessment. The way he walks, measured, controlled, military. The way he doesn't make eye contact with her or any crew member. The way his carry-on bag seems heavier than it should be. Sarah's pulse quickens, but her smile doesn't waver. "Good morning, sir. Welcome aboard." He nods once and moves past her. No words, no eye contact. It's nothing. She's being paranoid again. Dr. Chen warned her about this, seeing threats where none exist, reading danger into innocent behavior. Not everyone is an enemy operative. Sometimes a nervous flyer is just a nervous flyer. But Sarah's eyes track him as he takes his seat. She watches him stow his bag. She notices how he checks the exits, counts the rows to the emergency door, and positions himself with a clear view of both the cockpit and the rear of the plane. Then another passenger boards. Row 23F, younger, maybe late 20s. Similar build. Different ethnicity but same energy, that coiled readiness, that awareness. He sits without looking at 12C, but Sarah sees the slight nod, the briefest acknowledgement. Her stomach drops. "Sarah," Jennifer touches her arm. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Fine," Sarah says, but her voice sounds distant even to her own ears. "Just thought I recognized someone." More passengers board. Sarah goes through the motions, greeting, directing, smiling, but her mind is racing through probability calculations. Two men with military bearing seated strategically, acknowledging each other. Coincidence? Possibly. Air marshals? Maybe. But there's something else, something in the way they moved, that triggers every alarm bell forged in her 15 years of combat experience. Then she spots the third one. Row 8A, window seat. He's reading a newspaper but hasn't turned the page in 5 minutes. His eyes aren't on the paper. They're reflecting the cabin in the window glass, watching everything. 3 is a pattern. 3 is a team. Sarah's hand instinctively reaches for her hip where she used to carry her sidearm. Nothing there but polyester fabric. She's not a pilot anymore. She's not armed. She's not even supposed to be thinking like this. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Davis. Welcome aboard Transcontinental Flight 447 with service to Miami." Sarah moves through pre-flight duties on autopilot, her training taking over while her mind processes threat assessments. She watches the 3 men. None of them interact. None of them even look at each other. But she knows. The way you know when someone's targeting you with radar, the way you feel eyes on you in a combat zone. Then just as they're about to close the cabin door, a 4th passenger rushes on board. Late, flustered, apologetic. Row 19C, aisle seat. He's different from the others, younger, maybe 22, with softer features and uncertain movements. But when he settles into his seat, Sarah sees him glance at the man in 12C just once. Just enough. 4 corners of a box, perfect tactical positioning. Sarah's breathing is controlled, measured, but inside she's screaming. She moves to the galley and pretends to check supplies while her mind races. She could be wrong. Please, God, let her be wrong. She doesn't want to be the paranoid veteran who sees enemies everywhere. She doesn't want to be the woman who can't leave the war behind. But she's not wrong. Every instinct honed over 15 years of combat is screaming at her. "Flight attendants, prepare for departure," Captain Davis announces. Sarah takes her jump seat, buckles in, and watches the 4 men. The engines spool up. The plane pushes back from the gate. Normal. Everything looks so perfectly normal. The youngest one, row 19C, is sweating. His hands grip the armrests too tight. He's nervous. Not afraid of flying, nervous. Something else. Flight 447 taxis toward the runway. Sarah's heart hammers against her ribs, but outwardly she's the picture of calm professionalism. Maybe she's wrong. Maybe Dr. Chen is right and she needs to increase her medication. Maybe. The plane rotates, lifts, climbs into the crystalline Colorado sky. And Sarah catches the reflection in the galley window. The man from 12C is staring directly at her, not with lust or casual interest, with assessment, with calculation. Their eyes meet in the reflection for just a second. He knows that she knows. And Sarah realizes with absolute crushing certainty, she's not paranoid. She's right. And in approximately 30 minutes, everything is going to go straight to hell. The seatbelt sign chimes off at 10,000 feet, and Sarah unbuckles with hands that want to shake but don't, can't, won't. She's performed this routine 847 times since joining Transcontinental Airlines. She's counted every single flight, every single shift away from the cockpit. But this time, as she stands and smooths her uniform, every movement feels weighted with terrible significance. "You take the front cabin, I'll take the rear," Jennifer says cheerfully, already grabbing the beverage cart. Sweet, oblivious Jennifer who believes the world is fundamentally good and that the scariest thing about flying is running out of ginger ale. "Actually," Sarah says, her voice carefully casual, "let's switch today. I'll take the rear." Jennifer shrugs. "Sure, I prefer first class anyway, better tips." Sarah begins her walk down the aisle, but this isn't a beverage service. It's reconnaissance. She's conducting a threat assessment disguised as friendly customer service, and she's very, very good at it. Row 8A window seat. The man with the newspaper, he's ordered coffee but hasn't drunk it. His eyes track her in the reflection of his window. Sarah's trained gaze flicks to his hands, calloused, scarred knuckles, the kind you get from hitting things, or people. His carry-on is positioned within immediate reach. Whatever's inside, he needs quick access to it. "Anything else, sir?" Sarah asks with her flight attendant smile. "No," one word, clipped. American accent but with something underneath, Persian, maybe, or Arabic. He doesn't meet her eyes. Row 12, see the one who stared at her. He's reading a magazine about Miami tourism, but the page hasn't turned. Sarah can see the tension in his shoulders, the readiness. He's coiled like a spring. "Coffee, tea," she offers. This time he looks at her directly. His eyes are dark brown, almost black and completely devoid of warmth. "Water," he says, then almost as an afterthought, "please." The politeness is worse than rudeness. It's calculated, disarming. Sarah's pulse pounds in her ears as she pours water with a steady hand. She's close enough to see the slight bulge under his shirt, left side. Could be anything. Could be nothing. Could be exactly what she thinks it is. Row 19, see the young, nervous one. He's gripping his phone so hard his knuckles are white. When Sarah approaches, she catches a glimpse of his screen before he locks it, a text message in Arabic. She can't read it, but she sees the timestamp, sent 2 minutes ago. Sent after they were airborne. Sent when cell service should be impossible unless he has satellite capability. "Sir, would you like something to drink?" He flinches, actually flinches, and "No, thank you, no." His forehead is beaded with sweat despite the cabin's cool temperature. There's a silver necklace visible at his collar, a pendant Sarah can't quite see. His breathing is rapid, shallow. He's terrified. Of flying, or of what's about to happen. Row 23F, the last one. He's the calmest of the four, which makes him the most dangerous. He orders orange juice and makes small talk about the weather. His smile is practiced, his demeanor friendly. But Sarah sees the way his eyes catalog every passenger, every crew member, every potential variable. This one is the professional, the leader. Sarah moves to the rear galley where Marcus, Navy Corpsman Marcus, not dead pilot Marcus, is preparing more coffee. Her hands are finally starting to shake, and she grips the counter to steady them. "Hey," Marcus says, frowning. "You good, you look." "For men," Sarah interrupts, her voice barely above a whisper. Rows 8, 12, 19, and 23, military bearing, tactical positioning. They're coordinated. Marcus's easy smile vanishes. You sure? 15 years sure. Sarah's jaw clenches. The one in 19, he's scared, sweating, he's the weak link. The one in 23 is the leader. I need to identify the air marshals. Now. Sarah, if you're wrong. I'm not. She meets his eyes, and whatever he sees there makes him nod slowly. Okay. There's a guy in 4B noticed his shoulder holster when he reached for the overhead, and maybe the woman in 17A, she's got that look. You know the look. Sarah knows the look. She has that look. She's about to respond when she hears it, a child crying in the front cabin. Normal. Bobbies cry on planes all the time. But the sound makes something shift in the atmosphere. The four men all react, subtle, almost imperceptible, but Sarah sees it. A tensing, a readiness. They're waiting for something, a signal, a moment. Sarah checks her watch. 9:47 a.m. They've been airborne for 28 minutes. Marcus, she says quietly, urgently, I need you to trust me. In the next few minutes, things are going to. The plane hits turbulence. Just a small bump, nothing unusual, but it's enough. The man in row 23F stands up. Everything happens in slow motion and fast forward simultaneously. Sarah's combat instincts kick in, and she sees the next 5 seconds unfold like a tactical simulation. The man's hand goes to his waistband. He pulls something, ceramic white, shaped wrong for anything innocent. A knife, not metal, ceramic composite that would pass through any scanner. He doesn't shout, doesn't announce, just moves with the fluid precision of someone who's done this before. Row 12C stands at the exact same moment. Another knife appears in his hand like a magic trick. Row 8A is already moving toward the front cabin. The young one, row 19C, stands last, his hand shaking as he pulls his own weapon, and Sarah sees his face, sees the fear and doubt and resignation there, and knows with absolute certainty that he doesn't want to do this. Now the leader shouts, now. The cabin erupts into chaos. Passengers scream. A woman in row 15 grabs her child and pulls him down. A businessman tries to stand and is immediately shoved back into his seat. Jennifer drops the coffee pot and it shatters, sending glass and hot liquid across the first-class carpet. The man from row 8A reaches the cockpit door and pounds on it with the handle of his knife. Open now, or we start killing passengers. Inside, Sarah hears Captain Davis's voice. Negative, I'm not. A passenger near the cockpit, a middle-aged man with the haircut and bearing of a former Marine, stands up, fists clenched. Get away from that door. The hijacker doesn't hesitate. His knife flashes in the overhead lights. The passenger screams and falls back, blood blooming across his shoulder. Not fatal, but the message is clear. The next one dies. The hijacker roars, open this door. The cockpit door opens. It happens fast. Co-pilot Stevens tries to defend. Sarah sees him through the gap, sees him throw a punch, sees the knife arc upward, sees blood spray. Captain Davis is shouting. There's a struggle, a thud. Then the hijacker is inside the cockpit and the door slams shut. The leader, the one from row 23F who now stands in the center aisle like a general surveying his troops, produces a satellite phone from his jacket. He dials, speaks rapidly in Arabic, then switches to English for the benefit of his hostages. This aircraft is now under our control, he announces, his voice carrying the calm authority of absolute conviction. My name is Rashid. You will do exactly as I say when I say it. Anyone who disobeys will be killed. Anyone who resists will be killed. Anyone who tries to be a hero will watch 5 other people die before they are killed. Do you understand? Silence, terrible absolute silence except for quiet sobbing. I asked, do you understand? A chorus of terrified yes responses. Good, Rashid smiles, and it's the smile of a man who has already won. We are going to Cuba. If you cooperate, you will live. If you resist, He gestures to the bleeding man near the cockpit. Well, you see. Sarah is standing frozen in the rear galley, her mind racing through scenarios and probabilities and tactical options. Her hands have stopped shaking. Her breathing has slowed. Everything that made her a good combat pilot, the ability to think clearly under pressure, to calculate odds, to make life-or-death decisions in microseconds, comes flooding back. But she's not armed. She's not in control. She's a flight attendant in a polyester uniform with 156 passengers who think she's just as helpless as they are. Rashid's eyes sweep the cabin and land on her. He starts walking toward the rear, his knife held loosely, confidently. The other hijackers fan out, one near the cockpit, one in the middle, the young nervous one near the rear bathrooms. You, Rashid says, stopping directly in front of Sarah. He's taller than her by 4 inches, broader by 50 pounds. His smile is predatory. Pretty bird, what's your name? Sarah, she says, and her voice trembles just right, not too much, just enough. Sarah Mitchell. Sarah, he tests the name. You're scared, Sarah. This is good. Scared people stay alive. He leans in close and Sarah can smell coffee on his breath. Do you want to stay alive, Sarah? Every instinct screams at her to break his nose, disarm him, neutralize the threat. But that would get people killed. So instead, she does the hardest thing she's ever done. She lets tears well in her eyes. She lets her voice break. Please, Sarah whispers, please don't hurt anyone. We'll do whatever you want, just, please. Rashid nods, satisfied. He actually pats her shoulder like a father reassuring a child. See. You understand this is wisdom. He turns to address the cabin again and Sarah locks eyes with Marcus across the galley. His face is pale, but there's a question in his eyes. What do we do? Sarah gives the tiniest shake of her head. Not yet, not now, wait. Because Sarah Mitchell might look like a terrified flight attendant, but she's still Captain Valkyrie Mitchell, USAF. She's flown through enemy fire, survived a plane crash, and lost people she loved in combat. And she'll be damned if she's going to lose anyone else today. Sarah's first lesson in combat survival came from her flight instructor at the Air Force Academy. The best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know you have. Right now, her best weapon is the fact that Rashid thinks she's just another terrified civilian. He sees the tears, the trembling hands, the whispered pleas. He doesn't see the combat pilot calculating angles of attack, identifying weak points, and building a tactical response that will save every single person on this plane. Or die trying. 10 minutes after the takeover, the cabin has settled into a nightmare version of normal. Passengers sit rigid in their seats, some crying quietly, others staring at nothing. The hijackers patrol the aisles with the casual confidence of men who believe they've already won. The bleeding passenger near the cockpit has been bandaged by an off-duty nurse. Rashid allowed it, magnanimous in his power. See, he seems to say, I am reasonable, I am in control. Sarah moves through the cabin with a tray of water cups, playing her role perfectly. Her hands shake just enough to be believable. Her voice cracks at appropriate moments. But her eyes are doing what they've been trained to do for 15 years. Row 4B, the man Marcus identified as an air marshal. Sarah approaches with water, and as she sets it down, she sees it, the slight bulge at his ankle. Backup weapon. Smart. His eyes meet hers for just a fraction of a second, and she sees recognition there. He knows she's more than she appears. The question is, does he trust her? Sarah's hand trembles as she reaches across him to adjust the window shade, a movement that puts her mouth near his ear for just a second. Air Force pilot, she breathes, barely audible. 15 years, follow my lead. His hand twitches toward his cup, acknowledgement, he's in. Row 17A, the woman Marcus thought might be another marshal. She's in her 40s, blonde, dressed in business casual, reading glasses perched on her nose. But Sarah notices the way she sits, perfect posture, weight balanced, ready to move. And when Sarah offers her water, she sees the woman's eyes tracking the hijackers with the same tactical assessment Sarah's been conducting. Sarah stumbles slightly, catching herself on the woman's seat back. "Sorry," she says, but her fingers tap 3 times on the seat rest. "Military signal. Are you friendly?" The woman adjusts her glasses, 2 taps on the frame. Affirmative. 2 marshals, maybe, probably. Sarah files it away. But she needs more than 2 allies. She needs an army. Row 14 see the middle-aged man with the marine haircut who tried to resist earlier. His shoulder is bandaged, his face pale from blood loss, but his jaw is set with stubborn determination. When Sarah brings him water, he grabs her wrist, not threatening, pleading. "Tell me you have a plan," he whispers desperately. "Tell me someone has a plan." Sarah meets his eyes. "Semper Fi," she says quietly, and watches understanding dawn on his face. "But not yet. Stay ready." He nods once sharply. Another soldier added to her invisible army. The young hijacker, the one from row 19C who's now stationed near the rear bathroom, watches Sarah with haunted eyes. His name, she's learned from hearing Rashid bark at him, is Ahmed. He's the youngest, probably early 20s, and everything about his body language screams reluctance. His knife hand shakes. His eyes won't meet the passengers. When a child whimpers, he flinches. This is Sarah's key, her way in. She approaches him with water, her posture submissive, unthreatening. "You look thirsty," she says softly. Ahmed's eyes dart to Rashid, who's occupied with the satellite phone near the front. Yes, thank you." His accent is American. Brooklyn, maybe. Or Queens. This isn't a hardened terrorist imported from overseas. This is a kid from New York who got radicalized online and is now way over his head. "What's your name?" Sarah asks gently as she hands him the cup. "Ahmed," he says it automatically, then looks panicked, like he's given away classified information. "Ahmed," Sarah repeats, making her voice warm. "That's a good name. My nephew is named Ahmed. He's 7, loves Spider-Man." Something flickers in Ahmed's face, surprise, longing. Sarah can't quite read it, but she sees his hand move to touch something under his shirt, a necklace. She caught a glimpse of it earlier. "Is that from someone special?" she asks, nodding toward his chest. Ahmed's hand closes around the hidden pendant. "My mother," he says quietly. Then, as if the words are pulled from him, "She gave it to me before I left. She must miss you. She doesn't know where I am." His voice cracks. "She thinks I told her I was visiting friends in California." Sarah's heart breaks a little, but she keeps her face neutral, sympathetic. "What would she think if she knew you were here?" Ahmed's face crumbles for just a second before he catches himself, hardens his expression. "It doesn't matter what she thinks. This is bigger than her, bigger than me. This is for..." "Ahmed," Rashid's voice cuts across the cabin like a whip. "What are you doing?" "Nothing, she brought water." Rashid strides toward them, his face dark with suspicion. Sarah immediately drops her eyes, makes herself smaller, terrified. I'm sorry," she stammers. "I was just trying to help, I didn't mean." Rashid grabs her arm, not gently. "You talk to passengers, not to us. Understand?" Yes, I understand, I'm sorry." He shoves her toward the galley. Sarah stumbles, catches herself on a seat back. Perfect. Let him think she's weak. Let him think she's broken. But as she retreats to the galley, she sees Ahmed's face over Rashid's shoulder. The young man looks stricken, guilty. Good. Guilt is a crack in armor. Guilt can be exploited. Marcus pulls her into the galley, his face tight with fear and frustration. "Sarah, this is insane. We're flight attendants. We're not equipped for..." "I need you to trust me," Sarah interrupts. "How much time you got left in you Navy?" Marcus straightens instinctively. "Enough. What do you need?" "I need you to ID every passenger who might have military or law enforcement training. Use your medic's eye. Look for posture, scars, tattoos, bearing. Can you do that?" Yeah, I can do that. Good, do it quietly. Use the bathroom trips as cover. We have maybe an hour before. Sarah trails off as she overhears voices from the cockpit through the intercom system that Rashid has left partially on. Rashid is talking to someone, the hijacker inside the cockpit. They're speaking in Arabic, but Sarah catches enough words from her deployment vocabulary to make her blood run cold. Miami Beach, maximum casualties, paradise. They're not going to Cuba. Cuba was always a lie. They're going to crash this plane into Miami Beach on a Tuesday morning in December. Tourist season. Thousands of people packed onto the sand in hotels on the boardwalks. This isn't a hijacking, it's a flying bomb. And Sarah has maybe 90 minutes before impact. She must make a sound, a gasp, a curse, something, because Marcus grabs her shoulders. What is it? Sarah's mind is racing through calculations. Fuel load, distance to Miami, descent rate, evacuation time. Her hands aren't shaking anymore. Her voice is steel. They're not landing, they're crashing. Miami Beach. They're going to kill everyone on this plane and everyone on the ground. Marcus goes white. Oh God, oh my God, we need to. We need to be smart, Sarah cuts him off. Panic gets people killed. Rushing gets people killed. We do this right or we don't do it at all. She pulls out a cocktail napkin and borrows Marcus's pen. Her hands move with practiced precision, sketching the cabin layout, marking positions. 4 hostiles. The leader, Rashid, is the most dangerous. The one in the cockpit is securing our pilots. The one in the middle section is the muscle. And Ahmed, she pauses. Ahmed is our way in. The young one, how? Because he doesn't want to be here. I saw it in his eyes. He's terrified. He mentioned his mother. She doesn't even know where he is. He's wearing her necklace. Sarah's voice softens. He's not a terrorist. He's a scared kid who got radicalized and is now realizing what he's actually done. So what? You're going to talk him out of mass murder? I'm going to give him a choice, and when the moment comes, he's going to take it. Sarah's eyes harden. Because the alternative is dying with everyone else, and some part of him still wants to live, still wants to go home to his mother. Marcus stares at her like he's seeing her for the first time. You've done this before, haven't you? Not this exactly, but combat, real combat. 15 years, Sarah confirms. F-16s over Afghanistan and Iraq. I've been shot at, shot down, and watched good people die. I left the military because I thought I was done with war. She looks around the cabin, at the terrified passengers, the crying children, the people who just wanted to go to Miami for vacation or business or family. Turns out war found me anyway. She finishes her sketch, adding notes in shorthand that only someone with military training would understand. Then she tears the napkin into pieces and starts distributing them during her next pass through the cabin. A piece tucked under the marshal's cup in 4B, another slipped to the woman in 17A, a third dropped into the Marine's lap in 14C. Each piece contains part of the plan. No single person has the whole picture. Operational security, just like in combat. But as Sarah returns to the galley, she catches sight of her reflection in the metal coffee dispenser. She looks like a flight attendant. Hair perfect, makeup intact, uniform pressed. But her eyes are the eyes of a fighter pilot who's found her cockpit again. Rashid thinks he's in control. He thinks he's already won. He has no idea he's trapped on a plane with a woman who's fought and survived against worse odds than this. A woman who's already died once, ejected from a burning plane over enemy territory, and came back. They call her Valkyrie, and Valkyries don't lose. Not today, not ever. The hardest part of being a warrior isn't the fighting, it's the waiting. Sarah has been playing the terrified flight attendant for 43 minutes now, and every second feels like an eternity. Every smile at Rashid is a knife in her gut. Every whimpered please makes her want to scream. But this is the mission, and she's always been good at missions. She brings Rashid coffee, black, no sugar, because men like him always take it black, and sets it down with trembling hands. "Is there anything else you need?" she asks, voice small and broken. Rashid looks up from his satellite phone and actually smiles at her. "You are very good at your job, Sarah, very professional, even now." He takes a sip of coffee. "This is wisdom. You understand survival." "I just want everyone to get home safely," Sarah says, and it's the first completely true thing she said to him. "Then keep them calm, keep them quiet, and everyone will see their families again." The lie rolls off his tongue so smoothly that Sarah almost believes he believes it, but she's heard the plan. She knows they're flying toward mass murder. As she turns to leave, Rashid catches her wrist, not threatening, almost gentle. "You have children, Sarah." The question catches her off guard. "A daughter," she lies. "Emma, she's 5. It's a calculated lie, specific enough to be believable, emotional enough to make her seem vulnerable. And it works. Rashid's face softens almost imperceptibly. "Then you understand," he says. "What we do today, we do for the children, for a better world." Sarah wants to ask what kind of better world involves murdering hundreds of people, but she doesn't. Instead, she nods, pulls her hand away gently, and retreats. Let him think she's sympathetic. Let him think she understands. The more he trusts her, the more access she gets. And access is everything. 30 minutes later, the plane hits turbulence, real turbulence that sends the seatbelt sign chiming on and passengers gripping their armrests. Ahmed, stationed near the rear bathroom, actually stumbles, catching himself on a seat. His knife clatters to the floor. Sarah moves instantly, bending to retrieve it before any passenger can get ideas. She picks it up carefully, ceramic blade, carbon fiber handle, professionally made, and hands it back to Ahmed. Their eyes meet. "Thank you," he whispers, and she hears shame in his voice. "Are you okay?" Sarah asks quietly, glancing to make sure Rashid isn't watching. He's not. He's dealing with an agitated passenger in first class. "I'm fine," Ahmed says automatically. Then, No, I'm not fine, He trails off, looking lost. This is the moment, the opening Sarah's been waiting for. "Your mother's name is Fatima, isn't it?" Sarah says softly. Ahmed's head snaps up, eyes wide with shock. "How did you?" "The necklace. You touch it every time you're scared. I saw the inscription when you reached for your coffee earlier. For Ahmed, with love, Mama Fatima." Sarah's voice is gentle, non-judgmental. "She must love you very much to give you something so precious." Tears well in Ahmed's eyes. She doesn't know I'm here. She thinks I'm in California with friends. She would." His voice breaks. "She would never forgive me if she knew." "Then why are you here, Ahmed?" "Because," he struggles for words, "because the world is wrong. Because Muslims are dying, suffering, and nobody cares. Because I have to do something. I can't just stand by while you murder innocent people," Sarah interrupts, still gentle but firm. "There are children on this plane, Ahmed. A 7-year-old girl in row 21 who's flying to Disney World. A 3-month-old baby in first class. Are they responsible for the world's suffering?" "Collateral damage," Ahmed says, but his voice lacks conviction. "Rashid says we can't make an omelet without." "Rashid is using you," Sarah cuts in. "You know that, don't you? You're the youngest, the most expendable. When this goes wrong, and it will go wrong, who do you think dies first?" Ahmed's face goes pale. "What do you mean, goes wrong?" Sarah leans in closer, keeping her voice barely above a whisper. "We're not going to Cuba, Ahmed. They lied to you. We're going to crash into Miami Beach. Everyone on this plane dies. Everyone on the beach dies. And your mother, your Mama Fatima, she's going to turn on the news and see your face plastered everywhere as a terrorist. That's what you'll be remembered as, not as her son, not as a good Muslim, as a murderer." "No," Ahmed shakes his head desperately. "No, Rashid said we're going to Cuba. We're going to make demands. We're going to." "Listen to the cockpit radio," Sarah hisses. "You speak Arabic, don't you? Listen to what they're really saying when they think no one understands." Ahmed's face crumbles as realization dawns. Oh God, oh my God, I didn't. They told me we were just going to scare people, make a statement, but we'd all live, he's hyperventilating now. What have I done? What have I done? Sarah grabs his shoulders, forces him to look at her. You haven't done it yet, you still have a choice. When the moment comes, and it will come, you can choose differently. You can choose your mother, choose life, choose to be the man she raised you to be. But Rashid doesn't control you unless you let him. Sarah's voice is steel. I need to know right now, Ahmed, are you with us or with them? Ahmed opens his mouth to answer, but Rashid's voice cuts across the cabin. Ahmed, what are you doing back there? Nothing, just the passenger needed water. Rashid starts walking toward them, suspicion written across his face. Sarah immediately shifts back into terrified flight attendant mode, but not before she sees Ahmed's hand close around his mother's necklace, his jaw set with something that might be determination. She doesn't know if she got through to him, won't know until the moment of truth, but she's planted the seed. Now she needs to escalate the plan. I need to check on the pilots, Sarah tells Rashid when he reaches them. The co-pilot was injured. If he's not treated properly, if Captain Davis gets too tired to fly, the plane could crash before you reach your destination. It's a calculated risk, but Rashid is smart enough to see the logic. 5 minutes, he finally agrees. Ahmed watches you. Of course. Sarah moves toward the cockpit, Ahmed trailing nervously behind her. The hijacker guarding the door, a man they call Karim, eyes her suspiciously but steps aside when Rashid nods. The cockpit is worse than Sarah imagined. Co-pilot Stevens is barely conscious, his head wrapped in blood-soaked bandages. Captain Davis has a knife wound in his shoulder and is flying one-handed, his face gray with pain and exhaustion. The hijacker inside, a cold-eyed man named Faisal, watches Sarah's every move with predatory intensity. How bad? Sarah asks Davis, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Bad, Davis grits out. Stevens needs a hospital. I can fly, but not for much longer. Sarah moves to check Stevens' pulse while her eyes scan the cockpit instruments. The transponder is off. She expected that. But something else catches her attention, a small post-it note stuck to the edge of the navigation screen. Written in Captain Davis's shaky handwriting, 23 minutes open water. 23 minutes until they're over the Atlantic, away from populated areas. 23 minutes until a crash would only kill the people on board instead of thousands on the ground. It's a message, a window of opportunity. Sarah meets Davis's eyes and gives the tiniest nod. Message received. But then she notices something else, something that makes her heart race. The autopilot is engaged, but the heading is wrong. They're not flying toward Cuba at all. They're angled directly toward Miami Beach. Captain, Sarah says carefully, are we still on course for Cuba? Davis's eyes flick to Faisal, then back to Sarah. That's classified passenger information. Translation, no, and the pilots know it too. How's your shoulder? Sarah asks, examining the wound. It's deep, still bleeding slowly. She pulls bandaging from the first aid kit, and as she leans in to dress the wound, she whispers directly into Davis's ear, so quietly even Ahmed standing behind her can't hear. Valkyrie, USAF. I can fly her if needed. 23 minutes. Davis's hand twitches acknowledgement. 23 minutes, he whispers back. But after that, we're over Miami suburbs, high population. Sarah finishes bandaging his shoulder, her mind racing through scenarios. 23 minutes isn't much time. She needs to coordinate with her hidden allies, exploit Ahmed's crisis of conscience, and somehow neutralize 4 trained terrorists without getting anyone killed. No pressure. As she stands to leave, co-pilot Stevens suddenly grabs her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes flutter open, unfocused but desperate. Your call sign, he rasps, loud enough for Ahmed to hear. Military. Sarah's heart stops. If Ahmed reports this. But Stevens keeps talking, his voice slurring. My brother, Air Force, fighter pilot, what was your bird? It's a cover, a reason for the question. Sarah could kiss him. F-16, she says, hopping. It sounds like casual conversation rather than classified information. My brother flew Vipers too. Stevens manages a weak smile. Good planes, good pilots. His eyes clear for just a second, and in that second Sarah sees absolute trust. Best pilots. Rest now, Sarah tells him, then looks at Faisal. He needs proper medical attention. Soon. Faisal just shrugs. Won't matter in an hour. The casual cruelty confirms what Sarah already knew. They're all supposed to die. Every passenger, every crew member, every hijacker except maybe Rashid. These men are martyrs. They're not planning to survive. Which makes them infinitely more dangerous. As Sarah exits the cockpit with Ahmed, she catches his expression. He heard everything. He saw the pilot's condition. He understands the timeline now. 23 minutes, Ahmed whispers. Then we're over Miami. Yes. And then everyone dies, including you, including your mother's only son. Sarah stops, looks him directly in the eyes. Or you choose differently. Ahmed doesn't respond, but his hand goes to his necklace again, and Sarah sees the war raging behind his eyes. She's done all she can with him. Now it's time to weaponize everything she's learned. 23 minutes until open water. 23 minutes until Sarah Mitchell stops being a flight attendant and becomes a fighter pilot again. The clock is ticking, 23 minutes. Sarah's watched countdown clocks before, fuel gauges dropping toward empty over hostile territory, missile lock warnings counting down to impact, ejection sequences ticking toward the point of no return. But none of those felt like this. None of those had 156 lives hanging in the balance. She moves through the cabin with mechanical precision, distributing drinks she doesn't see to passengers who don't want them. But her mind is 3 steps ahead, running through the tactical plan like a pre-flight checklist. Assets: 2 air marshals probable, 1 Marine injured but capable, 1 Navy corpsman Marcus, herself rusty but trained, Ahmed compromised, unreliable but potentially exploitable. Liabilities: 4 hijackers, 3 committed, 1 wavering, 2 injured pilots, 156 terrified passengers, 0 weapons, ceramic knives that can kill in seconds. Time: 21 minutes until open water. After that, they're overpopulated suburbs approaching Miami Beach. The equation is simple and brutal. She needs to take control of this aircraft in the next 21 minutes, or thousands of people die. No pressure. Sarah approaches row 4B with her beverage cart, where the air marshal sits reading a magazine he hasn't turned a page of in 30 minutes. She sets down a cup of coffee and a folded napkin. Written inside in tiny letters, 19 men rear galley. Be ready. The marshal's finger taps the cup once. Acknowledged. Row 17A, the female marshal. Same procedure, same message, same acknowledgement. Row 14C, the injured Marine whose name she's learned is Tom Hendricks, gunnery sergeant, retired. When she leans down to ask if he needs more water, he whispers, "Just tell me when. I'm ready to finish what I started." Soon, Sarah promises, very soon. But then everything starts to unravel. A passenger in row 18, a young man in his 30s with panicked eyes, suddenly stands up. "I can't do this," he shouts. "I can't just sit here and die. My wife, my kids, they're waiting for me in Miami. I have to." He rushes toward the rear, toward the emergency exit, his rational mind completely overwhelmed by terror. Karim, the hijacker in the middle section, moves to intercept. Sit down now or..." But the passenger isn't listening. He grabs the emergency exit handle, starts pulling. Alarms blare. Passengers scream. The physics are all wrong. The door won't open at altitude, the pressure differential is too great, but he's not thinking about physics. He's thinking about his wife and kids. Karim doesn't hesitate. His ceramic knife flashes in the overhead lights. No, Sarah shouts, but she's too far away. The blade sinks into the passenger's back. Once, twice, 3 times. The man crumples to the floor, blood spreading across the carpet in a growing pool. His last words are, "Tell them I love them." Then he's gone. The cabin erupts. Passengers sob. A woman vomits. Someone screams, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," over and over. And Sarah watches her carefully constructed plan begin to collapse. Rashid storms down the aisle furious. "I told you," he roars at the passengers. "I told you what would happen. Anyone else wants to be a hero. Anyone else wants to die." Silent, absolute terrified silence. "Clean this up," Rashid orders Sarah, his voice cold as ice. "And if anyone else moves, they die next. Then I kill 5 more. Then 10. Do you all understand?" Sarah forces herself to nod, to move, to grab towels from the galley, even though her hands are shaking with rage. That passenger, Mark Thompson, seat 18C, traveling to Miami for his daughter's birthday, died because he panicked. Died because Sarah didn't move fast enough. Died because she's been playing the long game when maybe she should have struck sooner. But no, striking sooner would have gotten more people killed. She knows this, has to believe this. The math is brutal but clear. Still, Mark Thompson's blood is on her hands as she kneels beside his body. Marcus helps her, his face gray. "Sarah," he whispers urgently, "we're running out of time, whatever you're planning." 16 minutes, Sarah interrupts, checking her watch. "I need you to go to the cockpit. Tell Rashid the pilots need a break, need water, need something. Get me another visit in there. Can you do that?" "Why, what are you?" "Marcus, can you do it?" He nods. "Yeah, I can do it." While Marcus negotiates with Rashid, Sarah notices Ahmed standing frozen near the rear bathroom, staring at Mark Thompson's body with an expression of absolute horror. His knife hand is shaking so badly he can barely hold the weapon. She moves close to him, speaking quietly. "This is what martyrdom looks like, Ahmed. This is what you signed up for. Watching innocent people bleed out on cheap carpet while their families wait at the airport." "I didn't," Ahmed's voice breaks. "He wasn't supposed to." Rashid said no one would get hurt if they just. "Rashid lied," Sarah hisses. "About Cuba, about survival, about everything. And in 15 minutes when this plane crashes into Miami Beach, hundreds more people are going to look exactly like this man. Children, Ahmed, families. And your mother is going to know you helped do it." Ahmed's face is wet with tears. I don't know how to. What do I do?" "When I give the signal," Sarah whispers urgently, "you drop your weapon and you get down, you stay down, you survive this, and then you spend the rest of your life making this right. Do you understand?" Before Ahmed can answer, Marcus returns. "They're letting you in. 5 minutes," Faisal watches. Sarah nods and heads to the cockpit, her heart pounding. 14 minutes. She's running out of time. Inside the cockpit, the situation has deteriorated. Captain Davis is barely conscious, his injured shoulder causing him to fade in and out. Co-pilot Stevens hasn't woken up. And Faisal, the hijacker guarding them, looks increasingly agitated, speaking rapidly in Arabic on a radio headset. Sarah moves to check Davis's bandages, and as she leans in, he grabs her wrist with desperate strength. "Listen," he whispers, "the autopilot is locked. I can't override it. Even if we take them down, I can't change course." Sarah's blood runs cold. "What?" "They locked the flight computer with a code. Military-grade encryption. I've been trying for an hour." Davis's eyes are desperate. "Even if you neutralize them, even if you get control, we're still locked on course for Miami." "Can you disable the autopilot entirely? Fly manual?" "Maybe if I was at full strength, but I'm losing consciousness. I can feel it." He squeezes her wrist harder. Sarah Valkyrie, whatever your name is, you need to know how to break the lock, or we're all dead anyway. Sarah's mind races. Flight computer encryption. Military grade. This wasn't a hastily planned hijacking. This was a sophisticated operation with someone who knew commercial aviation systems inside and out. Who locked it, she asks. Which one? Faisal, he's the technical expert. He has the code on a piece of paper in his shirt pocket. I saw him check it twice. Sarah's eyes flick to Faisal, who's standing 3 feet away, radio to his ear, completely alert. Getting that code would mean getting close to him, disarming him, all while under his direct observation. I can't fly manually much longer, Davis continues. Maybe 10 minutes before I pass out. After that, he doesn't finish. He doesn't have to. Sarah makes a decision. When the alarms go off, and they will, you disable that autopilot, manual control. Can you do that? Yes, but Sarah, without the code. I'll get the code. How? Sarah doesn't answer because Faisal has finished his radio call and is watching them with suspicious eyes. Time's up, he says in accented English. Get out. As Sarah turns to leave, co-pilot Stevens' eyes suddenly flutter open. Wait, he rasps. Wait, the code, I saw it. Everyone freezes. What? Faisal demands, moving toward Stevens with his knife raised. The code, when you entered it, I memorized it. Stevens' voice is barely audible. 8874269. Faisal's face goes white with rage. You're lying, you were unconscious. Test me, Stevens croaks. Enter a wrong code, lock yourself out, see what happens. It's a bluff, it has to be, but it's brilliant. Faisal can't risk entering a wrong code and losing access to the system. Faisal grabs Stevens by the throat. If you're lying, I kill you slow. Then I'll die knowing I saved everyone else. Stevens manages to smile through his pain. Worth it. Sarah watches this exchange and realizes 2 things simultaneously. 1, Stevens is giving her the code even though Faisal is right there. It's a desperate gamble. 2, Faisal is going to kill him anyway. Wait, Sarah shouts. If you kill him and the code is wrong, Captain Davis passes out and we all crash into the ocean miles from your target. You need them alive. Faisal hesitates, knife still pressed to Stevens' throat. His radio crackles. Rashid's voice. Faisal, status. We have a problem, Faisal responds in English, his eyes never leaving Sarah. The co-pilot claims he knows the code. Then he dies. Rashid's voice is immediate and cold. We don't need him, we have the captain. The captain is barely conscious. Then you fly it. I can't fly a commercial aircraft. There's a pause, then, how long until target? Sarah checks the cockpit display. 12 minutes. 12 minutes, Faisal confirms into the radio. Then it doesn't matter, Rashid responds. Kill the co-pilot. The captain will last 12 minutes. After that, we're all in paradise anyway. Sarah's window is closing. In 12 minutes, there'll be overpopulated areas. In 12 minutes, everyone dies. Unless she does something right now. Stevens locks eyes with her one final time. His lips move silently, forming words. 8874269. Then he closes his eyes, accepting his fate. And Sarah makes the hardest choice of her military career. No, she says quietly. Faisal turns to her. What? I said no. Sarah's voice is louder now, clearer. You're not killing anyone else. Faisal laughs. And what are you going to do about it, flight attendant? Sarah's hands stop shaking. Her voice drops to the tone she used to use with her squadron, the tone that says she's not asking, she's ordering. I'm going to stop you. And then everything happens at once. Sarah's training instructor at the Air Force Academy used to say, violence of action wins battles. Hesitation loses wars. In the half-second before everything explodes into chaos, Sarah's mind crystallizes with perfect clarity. She's done waiting, done playing victim, done watching people die. Time to be Valkyrie again. She stumbles forward, as if fainting from stress, a movement that puts her directly between Faisal and Stevens. Faisal instinctively reaches out to catch her, his knife hand moving away from the co-pilot's throat for just a fraction of a second. That's all Sarah needs. Her hand shoots up, grabbing Faisal's knife wrist with her left hand, while her right drives a palm strike into his nose with every ounce of force she possesses. Bone crunches. Blood explodes. Faisal's head snaps back into the cockpit wall. But he's trained too. Even stunned, his free hand reaches for her throat. Sarah pivots, using his own momentum against him, driving her elbow into his solar plexus. He gasps, doubling over. The knife, she needs that knife. Sarah executes a wrist lock her hand-to-hand instructor drilled into her 1,000 times. Twist, pressure, leverage. Faisal's fingers spasm open. The ceramic blade clatters to the cockpit floor. But Faisal is bigger, stronger, and desperately fighting for his life. His fist connects with Sarah's ribs. Pain explodes through her chest. She tastes copper. Broken rib maybe too. Doesn't matter, can't matter. She drives her knee into his groin. He howls. She follows with a strike to his throat, not lethal but incapacitating. Faisal goes down, gasping like a fish, clawing at his crushed windpipe. Sarah snatches the knife from the floor and the paper from his shirt pocket. The code. She has the code, and spins toward the cockpit door just as she hears the chaos erupting in the cabin behind her. Because the moment she struck Faisal, Marcus triggered the plan. In the main cabin, everything happens simultaneously, like a symphony of controlled violence. Marcus accidentally knocks over the coffee pot near Rashid, sending scalding liquid across the aisle. Rashid jumps back, and in that second of distraction, the air marshal in 4B moves. He's out of his seat in a blur, his concealed weapon, a tactical pen, not a gun. They couldn't risk guns on a plane, driving toward the nearest Hijackers' pressure point. Karim, still standing over Mark Thompson's body, realizes the threat a second too late. The Marshall strike is textbook perfect, pen to the inner thigh, hitting the nerve cluster that causes instant leg collapse. Karim goes down with a scream. But Karim is a fighter too. Even falling, his knife flashes toward the Marshal's stomach. The Marshal twists, takes a shallow cut across his arm instead of a fatal gut wound, and drives his tactical pen into Karim's hand. The knife drops. The Marshal follows with a strike to Karim's temple. Karim goes limp. One down. The female Marshal in 17A moves simultaneously, targeting the third hijacker near the rear bathroom. But this one, a cold-eyed man they call Hassan, has been watching for trouble. He's ready. Hassan's knife comes up to slash at a nearby passenger, a teenage girl who happens to be in the wrong seat, using her as a shield. Back, or she dies. The female Marshal freezes, can't risk the civilian. But Tom Hendricks, the injured Marine, doesn't freeze. Despite his wounded shoulder, despite the blood loss, despite being 62 years old and 20 years retired, he launches himself from his seat like he's back in Fallujah. He tackles Hassan from behind, his weight and momentum driving them both to the floor. The knife skitters away. The teenage girl screams and scrambles to safety. Hendricks and Hassan struggle, rolling, grappling, each trying to kill the other with bare hands. Hendricks is older but trained. Hassan is younger but desperate. They're evenly matched. Until the female Marshal joins the fight, driving her heel into Hassan's kidney with surgical precision. Hassan's body goes rigid. Hendricks gets his arm around Hassan's throat, a proper Marine Corps sleeper hold, and squeezes. 10 seconds later, Hassan goes limp. 2 down. But Rashid, the leader, has processed what's happening faster than his men. He's not trying to fight. He's running toward the only leverage he has left, the cockpit. Marcus tries to stop him, grabbing Rashid's arm. Rashid spins, his knife flashing, Marcus jerks back but not fast enough. The blade opens a gash across his forearm. Blood spurts. Marcus stumbles. Rashid is through, running down the aisle toward the cockpit door. And directly into his path is Ahmed. The young hijacker stands frozen, knife in his shaking hand, his mother's necklace visible at his throat. His eyes are wide with terror and confusion, and the realization that this is the moment Sarah warned him about. Ahmed, Rashid shouts, "Kill them, kill the flight attendants, do it now." Ahmed's knife rises. Jennifer, sweet, oblivious Jennifer, stands 3 feet away, completely exposed, staring at the blade with the expression of someone who knows they're about to die. Time slows. Sarah, standing at the cockpit door with Faisal's knife in her hand, sees it all happening, sees Ahmed's internal war, sees Jennifer's terror, sees Rashid calculating whether to stop and grab a hostage or keep running for the cockpit. "Ahmed," Sarah shouts, "your mother, think of your mother." Ahmed's eyes meet Sarah's across 30 feet of cabin. Tears stream down his face. His hand trembles violently. The knife wavers. "I'm sorry," he whispers. Then he throws the knife on the floor, drops to his knees and puts his hands on his head. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't do this." Jennifer collapses, sobbing with relief. But Rashid doesn't stop. He's past Ahmed now, running full speed, and Sarah realizes with sick certainty what he's going to do. He's going to grab a hostage, someone he can use as leverage. His eyes scan the cabin and land on exactly the wrong person, the 7-year-old girl in row 21, the one flying to Disney World, the one Sarah mentioned to Ahmed. Small, helpless, perfect leverage. No, Sarah moves, but she's too far away. Rashid grabs the child, yanking her from her mother's arms. The mother screams, clawing at him, but he backhands her viciously. She falls into the aisle. The little girl shrieks in terror as Rashid presses his knife to her throat. The cabin freezes. Every person who was fighting stops. The air marshals lower their weapons. Even the passengers who were helping stop moving. Because Rashid is holding a 7-year-old hostage with a blade at her carotid artery. "Everyone stops," Rashid roars. "Everyone stops or I kill her right now. I will paint this cabin with her blood." The little girl is crying, calling for her mommy. Rashid drags her backward toward the cockpit, using her as a shield. "Sarah," he shouts, "open the cockpit door, open it now." Sarah stands at the cockpit entrance, Faisal's knife in one hand, the code to the autopilot in the other. Behind her, Captain Davis is barely conscious. Co-pilot Stevens is bleeding out. In front of her, Rashid has a knife to a child's throat. Every tactical calculation says she's lost. If she fights, the child dies. If she surrenders, everyone dies. There's no good option, no clean solution. 10 seconds, Rashid screams. 10, 9, 8. The mother on the floor is sobbing, reaching toward her daughter. "Please, please, don't hurt her. She's just a baby, please." 7, 6. Sarah's mind races through scenarios. Attack him. He'll kill the girl before she closes half the distance. Let him in the cockpit. He'll crash the plane immediately. Negotiate. He's beyond negotiation. She can see it in his eyes. He's accepted death. Welcomed it. 5, 4. Sarah looks at the little girl, blonde pigtails, princess shirt, clutching a stuffed unicorn that's falling from her hands, and sees every reason she left the military. Every nightmare, every dead colleague, every mission that haunted her. This is why she became a flight attendant, to never have to make these choices again. 3, 2. But here's the truth Sarah's always known. Running from who you are doesn't change who you are. And she's a warrior, a fighter pilot, someone who makes impossible choices under impossible circumstances. 1. "Wait," Sarah shouts. "I'm opening the door, don't hurt her." Sarah's hand moves to the cockpit door handle. Rashid smiles victoriously, already imagining his moment of glory. But Sarah's not opening the door. She's pulling it closed. And as she does, Captain Davis, summoning his last reserves of strength, kills the cabin lights. The entire plane plunges into darkness. In that darkness, Sarah moves. She's trained for this. Countless hours of night operations, of combat in zero visibility, of fighting when you can't see your hand in front of your face. She knows exactly where Rashid is, knows exactly where the little girl is. And she knows exactly what she has to do. 3 seconds of total darkness, 3 seconds to save everyone. 3 seconds to prove that some people are called Valkyrie for a reason. The lights come back on. Rashid is on the floor, unconscious, a precise strike to his temple rendering him instantly incapacitated. The little girl is safe in Sarah's arms, unharmed, still crying but alive. And Sarah Mitchell stands in the aisle, breathing hard, ribs screaming but victorious. 4 hijackers neutralized. 0 additional casualties. "Mommy," the little girl sobs. Sarah gently hands her back to her mother, who clutches her daughter and collapses in grateful tears. The cabin erupts in shocked applause, but Sarah doesn't hear it, because she knows the hardest part is still ahead. "Marcus," she shouts, "restrain them all 4 now." She turns back to the cockpit, where Captain Davis is slumped over the controls, barely breathing. And the plane, with no one flying it, begins to descend. The alarm screaming through the cockpit is the same sound Sarah heard 3 years ago when her F-16 took enemy fire over Afghanistan. A high-pitched wail that means you're about to die. She bursts through the cockpit door and immediately assesses the nightmare in front of her. Captain Davis is unconscious, slumped over the yoke, his weight pushing the plane into a steeper descent. Co-pilot Stevens is barely breathing, his eyes closed, his face gray, and the altimeter is spinning downward like a clock counting down to doomsday. 18,000 feet. 17,500 feet. 17,000 feet. They're diving toward the Atlantic Ocean at 3,000 feet per minute. At this rate, they have maybe 5 minutes before impact. Sarah grabs Davis, pulls him back from the controls. His head lolls, he's breathing, pulse weak but present. Not dead. Not yet. She hauls him out of the captain's seat with strength born of pure adrenaline and desperation. Then she stands there, staring at the captain's chair. The chair she swore she'd never sit in again. 16,000 feet. "Sarah," Marcus appears at the door, his injured arm wrapped in a makeshift tourniquet. "What do we, oh God, can you fly this thing?" "Can she?" Sarah's hands are shaking now, really shaking, not the fake tremors she performed for the hijackers. Her breath comes in short gasps. Her vision tunnels. She's not in a Boeing 737 cockpit. She's in her F-16 watching smoke pour from her wingman's plane, watching Marcus Rodriguez spiral into a mountain, hearing his last words on the radio, "Valkyrie, I can't pull out." "Sarah," Marcus grabs her shoulders, shakes her. "Look at me, can you fly this plane?" 15,000 feet. The autopilot, she needs to disengage the autopilot, but it's locked, she needs the code. Sarah's hand closes around the paper she took from Faisal's pocket. Her fingers are shaking so badly she can barely read the numbers. 8874269. Stephen's last gift. A code bought with his life. He's still breathing, still alive, but barely. "I can fly it," Sarah hears herself say. "But I need Marcus, get everyone strapped in. Now, tell them to brace for emergency maneuvers. Go." Marcus runs, the door slams. Sarah is alone with 2 dying men, a plummeting aircraft, and 3 years of PTSD screaming at her to run, to freeze, to do anything except sit in that chair. 14,000 feet. She sits. The moment her hands touch the controls, muscle memory floods through her. Throttle, yoke, rudder, pedals. Different configuration than her F-16, bigger, heavier, but the principles are the same. Physics doesn't care what you're flying. She pulls back on the yoke, Nothing happens. The autopilot is still engaged, still locked, still flying them towards certain death. The flight computer screen glows in front of her. Autopilot engaged. Manual override disabled. Enter code to unlock. 13,000 feet. Sarah's fingers fly across the keypad. 8874269. Invalid code. 2 ATTMPTS remaining. Sarah's heart stops. Stevens was wrong or dying or... Wait. Stevens said the code when he could barely speak. What if she misheard? What if she wrote it down wrong? She unfolds the paper with trembling hands. Her handwriting, scrawled while Faisal was bleeding on the floor, 8874269. But what if it's 8874296 or 8784269? 12,000 feet. If she enters the wrong code twice more, the system locks permanently. The autopilot will fly them straight into Miami Beach. Game over. Stevens, Sarah shouts. Stevens, wake up, I need you. The co-pilot doesn't respond. He's too far gone. Sarah's mind races. Think, Stevens was barely conscious when he said it. Dying men don't make elaborate codes, they make it simple, memorable. 8874269. She looks at the numbers again, sees a pattern 8874269. Not random, paired except the 9. Or maybe 8874, then 269. Or wait, what if it's not the numbers but what they represent? 11,000 feet. The ocean is visible through the windscreen now. Gray-green water rushing up to meet them. Sarah can see whitecaps, individual waves. They're so close she can see fishing boats that will witness their crash. Her finger hovers over the keypad. One wrong entry and she has only one attempt left. 2 wrong entries and they're dead. Every second she hesitates, they drop another 50 feet. 10,500 feet. Sarah closes her eyes, takes a breath, thinks about Stevens, the way he spoke, the way his lips moved when he was giving her the code. 8874269. She enters 8874269. Invalid code. 1 attempt remaining. Warning, system will lock after next failed attempt. No, Sarah's voice cracks. 1 attempt left, 1 chance, get it wrong and everyone dies. 10,000 feet. Behind her she hears the cabin, passengers crying, praying, saying goodbye to their families over phones that somehow still have signal. The little girl she saved is sobbing for her mommy. Ahmed is praying in Arabic. Someone is singing Amazing Grace, badly, desperately. Sarah's hands ball into fists. She wants to scream, wants to punch the console, wants to. Wait. She looks at the keypad, looks at the numbers. What if the code isn't what Stevens said? What if the code is what Stevens meant? He was a pilot, military trained. And in the military, when you're dying and need to communicate something critical, you use phonetics. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. But Stevens didn't use phonetics, he used numbers. Why? Because the hijackers were listening. Because saying 8874269 sounds like a random code. But what if it's not random? What if it's coordinates? 9,000 feet. Sarah pulls up the navigation computer. Miami Beach coordinates, 25, 8 degrees N 80, 1 degrees W. No, that's not it. But wait, what if it's not coordinates? What if it's something else? A date, a time. Then she sees it. The radio frequency display. Aviation emergency frequency. 121.5 megahertz. No, still not right. 8,500 feet. Stevens, help me, Sarah shouts. I don't know what you meant. Stevens' eyes flutter open, barely, just slits. His lips move. No sound comes out. Sarah leans close, ear to his mouth. Tell me the code. Not code, Stevens breathes. Sequence, reverse, sequence. Reverse. 8,000 feet. The plane is shaking now, metal groaning, warning lights flashing, passengers screaming. Reverse sequence, the code backwards. 9624788. Sarah's finger hovers over the keypad. This is it. Last chance. Get it wrong and they crash in approximately 90 seconds. She thinks about Marcus Rodriguez, her dead wingman. Thinks about the promise she made after his death. Never again. Never fly again. Never be responsible for lives again. But she's responsible for 156 lives right now, and they need her to be Valkyrie again. 7,500 feet. Sarah enters. 9624788. For a heartbeat, nothing happens. Then autopilot disengaged, manual control enabled. The yoke comes alive in Sarah's hands. She's flying, really flying. The weight of the aircraft responds to her input, heavy and powerful and terrifying and beautiful. She pulls back, pulls hard. The nose starts to rise. But they're too low, moving too fast. The ocean fills the entire windscreen. She can see a cruise ship, tiny in the distance. She can see the shore of Florida, the buildings of Miami Beach. 7,000 feet. 6,500 feet. The plane is fighting her, momentum and gravity and physics all conspiring to pull them down. Sarah's arms scream with effort. Her broken ribs send lightning bolts of agony through her chest with every breath. 6,000 feet. Come on, she grits through clenched teeth. Come on. The nose rises, inch by inch, degree by degree, but too slow, too late. 5,500 feet. They're going to hit the water, going to crash. She's going to fail again, just like she failed Marcus, just like she failed everyone who trusted her too. No. No, she's not failing, not today. Sarah slams the throttle forward, giving the engines everything they have. The Boeing roars, shudders, fights, metal groans. Something in the structure pops, rivets giving way, panels buckling. But the nose keeps rising. 5,000 feet. 4,800 feet. 4,700 feet. They're leveling out, still descending but slower now. The curve is flattening. 4,500 feet. 4,400 feet. 4,350 feet. The ocean is so close Sarah can see individual waves breaking, sees seagulls scattering from their path, sees her own reflection in the windscreen, wild-eyed, determined, alive. 4,300 feet. The descent stops. For a moment the altimeter holds steady. 4,300 feet, not climbing, not falling, just holding. Then slowly, impossibly, miraculously, 4,310 feet. They're climbing. 4,400 feet. 4,500 feet. 4,700 feet. Sarah doesn't let herself relax, doesn't let herself think about what just happened, because they're not safe yet. They're still over open water, still damaged, still with 2 unconscious pilots and 4 restrained terrorists and 156 traumatized passengers. And she still has to land this thing. Marcus, she shouts, Marcus, get in here. Marcus appears at the door, his face white. Holy Sarah, you did it, you actually. Radio Miami Tower, Sarah interrupts, her voice suddenly steady, suddenly calm, suddenly everything a command pilot should be. Tell them we're declaring an emergency. Tell them we have injured crew, neutralized hijackers, and a non-commercial pilot at the controls. Tell them we need priority landing, emergency vehicles, and a clear runway. Roger, Marcus says automatically, the military response coming back to him. And Marcus, Sarah glances back at him, tell them Valkyrie is bringing them home. She turns back to the controls, her hands steady now, her breathing controlled. The Atlantic Ocean spreads out beneath her, peaceful and beautiful and deadly. Somewhere in the cabin someone starts clapping, then another person, then another. Soon the entire plane is applauding, crying, thanking God and each other and the flight attendant who turned out to be so much more. But Sarah doesn't hear any of it. She's flying, really flying, for the first time in 3 years. And it feels like coming home. Miami International Airport lies 37 miles ahead, and Sarah Mitchell has never been more terrified in her life. She's flown combat missions in thunderstorms. She's dodged surface-to-air missiles over Kandahar. She's ejected from a burning plane at 15,000 feet. But none of that compares to the weight of 156 lives depending on her to land a damaged commercial aircraft she's not rated to fly. Miami Tower, this is Transcontinental 447, Marcus says into the radio, his voice surprisingly steady. We have emergency situation, hijacking neutralized, 2 pilots incapacitated, aircraft control transferred to, he glances at Sarah, to Captain Sarah Mitchell, United States Air Force, retired. There's a long pause. Then, 447, did you say Air Force? This is a Boeing 737. Affirmative, Tower, Sarah responds, her voice cutting through with command authority. 15 years military, 2,000 flight hours, mostly fighters. I know this bird is different, but physics is physics. I can bring her down. Another pause, longer this time. Sarah can almost hear the controllers arguing, calculating, trying to decide if this is going to be a miracle or a catastrophe. Finally, 447, you are cleared for emergency approach, runway 8 right. Wind 090 at 8 knots. Crash and rescue vehicles are rolling. Captain Mitchell, good luck. Don't need luck, Tower, Sarah says, and for the first time in 3 years she means it. Just need a clear runway and some faith. She banks the aircraft, feeling its response, slower than her F-16, heavier, like flying a building instead of a dart. The damaged control surfaces fight her, and something in the hydraulics is definitely wrong. The plane wants to pull left. Every correction takes twice the effort it should. Behind her, Marcus has moved both injured pilots to seats in the rear of the cockpit, strapped in and monitored by the off-duty nurse. Captain Davis is stable but unconscious. Co-pilot Stevens is worse, barely breathing, critical. He gave everything for that code, for those numbers that saved them all. Sarah, Marcus says quietly, the landing gear, did you check the landing gear? Sarah's blood runs cold. In the chaos of regaining control, pulling out of the dive, she forgot the most basic pre-landing procedure. She flips the gear lever, waits for the 3 green lights that mean all 3 wheels are down and locked. 2 green lights appear, nose gear, right main gear. The left main gear indicator stays dark. No, Sarah whispers, no, no, no. She cycles the gear, up, down, nothing. The left main gear refuses to deploy or indicate. Tower 447, Sarah's voice stays calm even as her heart races. We have a landing gear problem. Left main showing unsafe indication. Copy, 447. Do you want to do a flyby for visual confirmation? Sarah checks her fuel gauge. They're running on fumes. The hijackers had been flying for over 2 hours before she took control. Negative, Tower. Fuel is critical. We're coming in regardless. Understood, 447. Recommend foam on runway. Crash crews are standing by. Sarah begins her descent, controlled, measured, fighting the aircraft every inch. Through the windscreen, she can see Miami sprawling below. Highways packed with afternoon traffic, neighborhoods with swimming pools glinting in the sun, beaches crowded with people who have no idea that a crippled airliner is about to attempt an emergency landing. In the cabin, Marcus has briefed everyone. Passengers are in brace positions. Carry-on luggage is secured. The 4 hijackers, including Ahmed, are restrained with zip ties and surrounded by the air marshals and gunnery Sergeant Hendricks, who refuses medical attention until they're on the ground. Ahmed is crying quietly, praying. When Sarah glances back through the open cockpit door, she sees him clutching his mother's necklace, his lips moving in what might be prayer or might be apology. The little girl she saved, her name is Emma, Coincidentally, the same fake name Sarah gave to Rashid sits with her mother, holding her stuffed unicorn. She waves at Sarah. Sarah waves back. Valkyrie, Marcus says, using her call sign for the first time. What's your plan for the gear? Land on 2 wheels as long as possible, Sarah explains, her hands dancing across the controls, setting up the approach. Keep the left wing high. When the left side drops, it drops. Foam should reduce friction fire. Probably. Welcome to experimental aviation, Navy. Sarah manages a grim smile. You signed up for the exciting stuff. The runway appears ahead, a long gray strip marked with foam that makes it look like a ski slope. Fire trucks line both sides, red lights flashing. Ambulances. News helicopters hovering at safe distance. This is going to be on every screen in America within minutes. Success or catastrophe, hero or failure, no middle ground. Sarah's hands grip the yoke. Her feet are featherlight on the rudder pedals. Every lesson, every hour of flight time, every near miss and successful recovery, it all comes down to the next 60 seconds. Tower 447 on final approach. Copy 447. Runway is yours, Godspeed. The ground rushes up. Sarah adjusts too fast, pull back, now too slow, throttle up, altitude dropping, airspeed critical. 500 feet, Marcus calls out, reading instruments. Sarah's entire world narrows to this. The runway, the yoke, the controls. 300 feet. The plane shudders. A warning alarm blares. Something in the left wing is failing. She can feel it through the controls, metal fatigue, structural damage from the hijacking, from the violent maneuvers. 200 feet. The runway fills the windscreen. She can see individual foam bubbles, can see the face of a firefighter watching from his truck, can see the exact spot where she needs to touch down. 100 feet. Sarah flares, pulls the nose up to slow their descent. The right main gear kisses the runway with a screech of rubber. Perfect, textbook, beautiful. But the plane is tilting left, the damaged wing dropping. She fights it, right aileron, right rudder, but gravity and physics are winning. The left wing drops. Metal screams as the left wingtip hits the runway. Sparks explode in a shower of orange and white. The plane lurches violently. Passengers scream. Something in the cargo hold breaks loose with a sound like thunder. Sarah stands on the right rudder, fighting to keep them straight, keep them on the runway, keep them from cartwheeling into a catastrophic roll. The left engine nacelle hits pavement. More sparks, more screeching metal. The smell of burning fuel fills the cockpit. But they're slowing. The foam is working, reducing friction, reducing heat. The fire suppression systems engage automatically. White powder explodes from the wings. Slower. The plane skids, shudders, groans, but stays upright. Slower. Sarah's feet dance on the rudders. Her hands fight the yoke, every muscle screaming with effort and pain from her broken ribs. Slower. The end of the runway approaches. If they don't stop, they'll go off into the grass, possibly flip. Sarah engages full reverse thrust on the right engine. Dangerous with only one main gear, but she's out of options. The plane shakes like it's tearing itself apart. But it's stopping. Slower. Stop. Transcontinental Flight 447 comes to rest 300 yards from the end of runway 8 right, tilted at a 15-degree angle, covered in foam and scorch marks, but intact. Not beautiful, not graceful. But down safe home. For 5 seconds there's absolute silence. Then the cabin erupts. Passengers sob, cheer, pray, embrace. The emergency slides deploy. Fire crews surround the aircraft, foam cannons spraying, making sure nothing ignites. Sarah sits frozen in the captain's seat, her hands still on the yoke, her body shaking with adrenaline crash. She did it. They're alive, all of them. Sarah, Marcus touches her shoulder gently. Sarah, we need to evacuate. She nods but can't seem to make her hands let go of the controls. Sarah, Valkyrie, it's over, you did it. Finally, her fingers release. Her whole body feels like liquid. Marcus has to help her stand, has to support her as they exit the cockpit. The passengers are evacuating down the slides, frightened but alive, injured but surviving. As Sarah appears at the cockpit door, someone starts clapping. Then everyone still inside the plane joins in. They're crying and clapping, and some are reaching out to touch her as she passes, as if she's not quite real. The little girl, Emma, breaks away from her mother and runs to Sarah, wraps her small arms around Sarah's legs. "You saved me," she says. "You're a superhero." Sarah kneels down, wincing at her broken ribs, and looks into those innocent eyes. "No, sweetheart, I'm just someone who remembered how to do her job." Outside, the Miami sun is blinding. Emergency personnel swarm the aircraft. Paramedics rush toward Sarah, but she waves them off. The pilots first, co-pilot Stevens especially. He's critical. Federal agents are already boarding, heading for the restrained hijackers. Sarah sees them dragging Rashid, still unconscious, down the slide. Then Karim and Hassan. Then Ahmed. Ahmed is awake, crying, looking back at Sarah as they take him away. "I'm sorry," he mouths. "Tell my mother I'm sorry." Sarah nods. She'll make sure someone tells Fatima that her son, in the end, chose differently, that he helped save lives instead of taking them. It won't erase what he did, what he planned to do. But it's something. A small redemption in an ocean of tragedy. The media is already there. Cameras rolling, reporters shouting questions. Sarah ignores them all. She walks to the ambulance where they're loading co-pilot Stevens and Captain Davis. "Will they make it?" she asks the paramedic. The captain, "Yes." The co-pilot, the paramedic, shakes his head. "He's lost a lot of blood. We're doing everything we can." Sarah takes Stevens' hand. His eyes flutter open, unfocused. "Did we?" "We made it," Sarah says. "Everyone made it because of you, because you gave me that code." Stevens smiles weakly. "Knew you could do it, Valkyrie." Then his eyes close, and they're loading him into the ambulance, sirens wailing as they race toward the hospital. 3 hours later, Sarah sits in a federal office, still in her torn and blood-stained flight attendant uniform, giving her statement for the 4th time. The FBI agent across from her looks like he hasn't slept in days. "Just to confirm, Captain Mitchell, you engaged 4 armed hijackers with no weapon, took control of a commercial aircraft you weren't rated to fly, and landed it with damaged gear and hydraulics." "That's correct." "And you learned to fly in the Air Force. F-16s, multi-role fighters, very different from a 737, but flight principles are universal." The agent leans back, shaking his head in disbelief. "Captain Mitchell, do you understand what you've done? You've prevented what would have been the deadliest terrorist attack since 9/11. Thousands of people on Miami Beach would have died. Instead, everyone on that plane survived." "Not everyone," Sarah says quietly, thinking of Mark Thompson, the panicked passenger who bled out in the aisle. "Not everyone made it. But 155 did, because of you." Sarah doesn't know what to say to that. She's exhausted, hurting, emotionally wrung out. She wants to go home, take a shower, sleep for a week. But there's one more thing she has to do. "The young hijacker, Ahmed, can I see him?" The agent frowns. "He's in federal custody. He's facing terrorism charges." "5 minutes, please." Something in Sarah's voice, or maybe her eyes, or maybe the fact that she just saved 155 lives, makes the agent nod. They bring Ahmed into a separate room. He's handcuffed, flanked by marshals, his face swollen from crying. When he sees Sarah, he breaks down completely. "I'm so sorry," he sobs. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. They told me it would be different. I thought we were just going to scare people, make a statement. I didn't know about the crash, about killing everyone." Ahmed, Sarah's voice cuts through his hysteria. Stop, listen to me. He falls silent, hiccuping. You made terrible choices. You got involved with terrible people, and you're going to face consequences for that. Sarah pauses. But when it mattered most, you chose differently. You threw down your weapon. You refused to kill. You helped save lives. That doesn't erase what you did, but it's a start. They're going to send me to prison forever. Probably, and you deserve prison. But Ahmed, when you get out, however many years from now, you make the rest of your life count. You make your mother proud. You become the man she raised you to be. Can you do that? Ahmed nods, tears streaming down his face. I'll try, I swear I'll try. That's all anyone can do. The awards ceremony happens 3 weeks later. The president presents Sarah with the Civilian Medal of Valor in a White House ceremony broadcast around the world. There are speeches, photo opportunities, and interviews with every major network. Sarah hates every second of it. She's not a hero. She's just someone who was in the right place at the wrong time with the right training. She did what anyone with her background would have done. But the world disagrees. The world calls her a hero. Flight 447 passengers call her a lifesaver. The families of everyone on that beach, people who never knew how close they came to dying, call her a guardian angel. Co-pilot Stevens survives his injuries after 3 surgeries. When he's finally strong enough to leave the hospital, the first thing he does is visit Sarah. I wanted to thank you, he says, shaking her hand, for finishing what we started, for getting everyone home. I couldn't have done it without your code, Sarah says. That was brilliant, by the way, risky but brilliant. Stevens smiles. I figured if I was going to die anyway, might as well make it count. Then his expression turns serious. Are you going back to flying, commercial, military? Sarah has been asking herself that same question for 3 weeks. She left the Air Force because she couldn't handle the responsibility, the weight of command, the knowledge that her decisions could kill people. She became a flight attendant because it was safe, predictable, numb. But Flight 447 taught her something. You can't run from who you are. You can change jobs, change uniforms, change cities. But your nature, the core of who you are, that never changes. She's a pilot, a warrior, a protector. And maybe that's not a burden. Maybe that's a gift. I don't know yet, Sarah tells Stevens honestly. But for the first time in 3 years, I'm not afraid of the answer. 6 months later, Sarah Mitchell reports for her first day at a new job. Instructor pilot for Transcontinental Airlines, training new pilots in emergency procedures and crisis management. She wears a different uniform now, not a flight attendant, not military, but something in between. Captain's stripes on her shoulders, pilot's wings on her chest, and a small, unofficial patch on her flight bag that says one word. Valkyrie. She'll never fly F-16s again. Those days are over, but she'll train the next generation of pilots, teach them how to stay calm under pressure, how to make impossible choices, how to bring everyone home safe. As she walks through the training facility on her first morning, she passes a photograph mounted on the wall. Flight 447, surrounded by emergency vehicles on the runway, smoke and foam everywhere but intact. Alive. Below it, a plaque. In honor of Captain Sarah Mitchell and the passengers and crew of Flight 447, who reminded us that heroes walk among us every day, often in the most unexpected places. Sarah stares at the photo for a long moment. She sees that damaged plane and remembers the weight of the yoke in her hands, the screaming alarms, the fear, the choice. And she realizes something fundamental. She spent 3 years trying to forget she was Valkyrie. But Valkyrie was never just a call sign. It was who she always was, who she always will be. Some people are born to be warriors, not because they love violence or seek glory, but because when the moment comes, when chaos erupts and lives hang in the balance, they're the ones who step forward, They're the ones who remember their training when others freeze. They're the ones who make the hard choices when others can't. They're the ones who bring everyone home. Sarah Mitchell touches the wings on her uniform, takes a deep breath, and walks into her classroom where 20 new pilots wait to learn from the woman who hijackers underestimated, who physics couldn't defeat, and who proved that sometimes the most dangerous person on a plane is the one everyone thinks is just there to serve coffee. She smiles. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Captain Sarah Mitchell, call sign Valkyrie, and today we're going to talk about what to do when everything goes wrong at 30,000 feet. Outside, planes take off and land with routine precision. The sky is clear. The day is beautiful. And somewhere over that sky, someone with her training, her courage, and her spirit is waiting for their moment to prove that heroes really do walk among us. We just don't always recognize them until the moment they're needed most." The end.